Ghana makes significant strides with its engagement with multilateral partners to support Ghana's quest for a financial bailout. Now, the latest update from the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, suggests that we are making some great progress. Now, according to him, the government's engagement with the IMF, the International Financial Corporation, Japan Development Agency, JICA, and others are progressing smoothly. We'll soon be joined by JoyNews' business editor, George Rafi. But first, some economists are already concerned about how long the economy can withstand what they believe has been the delay in accessing the program. Now, let's share with you what the Finance Minister has been sharing on his Twitter handle. Now, this is from the Office of the Finance Minister, Ghana. It says, so far, we've had very positive and encouraging meetings in China. Looking forward to securing external assurances very soon, even as we pass our standing domestic revenue bills back home. Great progress on all fronts. This was on March 24th. Now, 8 hours ago, he says, very productive meeting so far at the spring meeting 2023 with the IMF, IFC, and JICA, among others. Grateful for the strong cooperation from our bilateral and multilateral partners. So that's the update there from the Finance Minister. Now let's head to Washington, D.C. now, where my colleague George Rafi is joining us from this particular meeting by the IMF and World Bank in Washington. He's been monitoring all the development there for us. George, grateful that you could join us today again. Now, what more are we learning beyond what the Finance Minister is saying or telling us on his Twitter handle?
You're right on that one with respect to what the minister said, and it's not hidden fact that indeed these multilateral partners and the donor partners as well are showing signs each and every day. And for me, away from even what the minister is saying, having had some personal engagement with some of these donors here on the sidelines of this IMF World Bank spring meetings, you get the understanding that they want to help Ghana. They think Ghana cannot fail, and therefore whatever that they can do to ensure that the economy stabilizes, they will do what they have to do. So from the multilateral partners, the donor partners, it is clear that indeed they are willing to do what they have to do to support the recovery of Ghana's economy. But I think the biggest challenge has been with the bilaterals in terms when it comes to Ghana's debt situation, and how can this progress that fast so that Ghana can take whatever assurance is coming from these partners to the IMF board for the program to be approved. If you could remember that yesterday there was a virtual engagement between the Paris Club and some of the countries that were invited to join in this discussion. One can talk about China, India, and then Brazil. China for now decided that it will not join the Paris Club because of concerns it had when it comes to the classification of China's debt. Now, China, for instance, argues that when it comes to its debt, there are some of the debt that is owned by the Exim Bank of China, and that is a private entity. So it has to still do some working out, or if I could use that expression, to see how those debts will be handled before it can come back to the table to participate in the Paris Club. Also, India, that is not a member of the Paris Club, also agreed that they are going to join the Paris Club. So the problem now is how to work out the financing assurances and the debt situation. And that could be the major sticking point. If Ghana can indeed get all its acts put together, go to the African department, let that document, that economic program, the letter of intent, roll through all the departments, and then request for a slot for the board to consider Ghana's program, maybe in May or somewhere in June.
But George, some economists have already started warning of harsher times. Should this drag even a little longer? Do you pick the sense that this may be earlier or it could still drag?
I think that maybe we shouldn't get so much fixated about the timelines. One of the reasons the Ghana city has stabilized is that those investors who matter, they really know when Ghana is going to get its program in terms of the intelligence that they pick, in terms of progress that Ghana has been made and Ghana is making on this discussion. So I think that getting fixated about the time, it's neither here nor there. Rather, is Ghana taking those critical structural reforms or measures in terms of bringing its fiscal situation under control, in terms of revenue? What is government doing? What are the laws that government is putting in place to ensure that indeed they're able to contain or rein in spending?
Okay.
And those are the signals that is going to convince investors. And that is why we're seeing the Ghana city stabilizing. If all those things are done, even the program should come in June or July, I don't think that in terms of the negative reactions, might be, we will see that impacting on the economy. Don't forget that some are saying that it is not just about the $3 billion that is coming from the IMF that is such a big deal, because that is directly going to the Bank of Ghana to support it when it comes to its balance of payment needs. The World Bank is also coming on board to directly finance government of Ghana when it comes to budget needs. And if you look at the numbers, maybe the Swiss government coming on board, the German government coming on board, some are even projecting that we could be getting up to $11 billion for this program. So I think that it's a long road to go. Unless there are some waivers granted, indeed that approval might keep long. But look at the measures, the policy measures, the structural reforms that are taking place. And that for some people is more important than getting the program today. If the program is rushed and all these things are not put in place, we'll get back to the IMF program or requesting for a program again the next maybe 4 years or 5 years.
Okay. George, I'm grateful. George Rafe is an editor here at Joy Business. Let's bring in an economist, Kwajon Kansa-Dafo, who is a senior lecturer of applied economics at the School of Economics, University of Cape Coast. Grateful that you could join us now. Having followed all the discussion that is ongoing in Washington, D.C., listening to George Rafe, what do you pick as the signal in terms of Ghana getting closer to securing an IMF deal?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners, and thank you for having me on your program. I think we are in a very dicey situation as a country, and I'm happy we are making some progress in terms of the negotiation with the Bretton Woods institution. But then, be that as it may, we also need to ask ourselves the question. There's nothing like a free lunch. So if somebody is bringing you an amount of money to shore up your economy, you should also show evidence that you are managing your affairs very well before they have the confidence to bring you the money. So I believe the dragging of the whole negotiation is also for us to put in the needed structures to be able to convince the IMF that we are really ready to make amends for some of the fiscal slippages that we have put ourselves through over the last few years, and also convince them that we are not going to relapse like we have done in previous programs that we have gone into with them. And it's become like a cycle. We've been in and out of IMF, World Bank programs for so many years, and it's as if it's the same problems that keep on cropping up every now and then. The same reason for which IMF gives us the money is the same reason you find on even their website. So the question is, why do we always need them very well? And that is where, as a country, we need to really do a deep soul searching and ask ourselves, what are we getting wrong?
Okay. Now, some of your colleagues.
That is.
Now, some of your colleague economics have suggested that we are heading for harsher times if this should drag on. What do you think the managers of the economy can do to prevent any harsh impact of a delay in us getting this IMF deal?
Yeah, thank you very much. We are already in the harsher times as we speak. There is difficulty for us as a country at the moment because we are owing a lot of the statutory funds for several months now. We have not even been able to pay, and therefore a lot of programs and projects and activities that should even go on in the country have come to a standstill. And so that even should tell us the kind of dire straits that we find ourselves as a country. But then, we want to go into a program, we still have a fundamental issue of debt also hanging over our necks. How are we addressing that issue? And I believe it's one of the things that the IMF wants us to convince them that, hey, we have a more effective and efficient plan in place to deal with our debt overhang in order not for whatever assistance they are giving us to go down the drain. We need to prove that we have done our homework well, we have put in the needed structures, we have been able to plug all the various loopholes that keep taking us back to the same old problems.
Okay, all right. Grateful to you.
If we are convinced about the things that we are putting in place, I believe they will be able to come in and give us assistance. It's an issue of we putting in the right structures, the right policies and programs in place, so that when the assistance comes, we don't still find ourselves going back to them again for another assistance in the foreseeable future.
Okay, but I wanted to find out from you what your suggestion will be to managers of the economy in terms of what they could do to mitigate that impact of a delay in securing the IMF will have on the economy and in fact on the citizens of this country.
For me, I think one of the ways to go is to halt programs that are currently going on that depend so much on the public purse, so that we can free up some funds to take care of more critical challenges that are confronting us. For example, even though some of the road constructions going on are critical, where we find ourselves now, I believe some of them should be put on hold whilst we try to find ways of addressing the challenges we are having at the moment before we go into, because we have started so many projects simultaneously, and virtually all the projects are at a standstill because the funds are not available. And it's because we have not managed the use of the funds that were at our disposal, and we were just throwing our hands everywhere trying to do something, but then the efficiency of it has been the problem. And I believe that we should put a halt on some of these projects for now,
okay,
to be able to free up some funds for other areas that are more critical, like health, education, so that we can shore out some of the challenges that are currently facing. Because I can tell you that if we are not able to get some funds in the country, because there are a lot of unrest in the labor front, but it's
okay,
like because of what we are going through, they are relaxing, but then we should double up our efforts to deal with it before it's too late.
All right, I'm grateful to you. Kwabena Kansada for is a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Now,